up, so it'll be a few more seconds. There we are. Cool. All right. Going live. There we are. All right. Let's do it. All right. Today, my guest on the show is Lindsay Dreyer from City Chic Real Estate in Washington, D.C. Let me tell you more about Lindsay. Lindsay Dreyer is the founder of Happy Agent Company, which is creator also of the Happy Agent Method, broker owner also of City Chic Real Estate, and host of the Happy Agent podcast. She's a joy-chasing, systems-loving real estate powerhouse who's built a thriving business without losing her mind or her weekends. Now she helps other agents do the same through a holistic profit meets purpose approach to growth. With over 21 years in the industry and 3 kids at home, Lindsay knows a thing or two about building a business that also fits your actual life. Her method empowers agents to ditch the hustle, attract aligned clients, and fall back in love with real estate. Because real success isn't just more closings, it's more joy, more money, and way more freedom. So if you are ready to build a business you actually enjoy, we're going to have you grab Lindsay's free, it's free, her Start with Joy Real Estate workbook. And we're going to have a link to that in the show notes. I want everybody to follow her at go to her website, happyagent.co. And if you're in the Washington, D.C. area and you are looking to maybe see what other opportunities exist at brokerages, she would love to chat with you. Join citychic.com. We'll have links to all of this in the show notes. Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you so much, DJ. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, also, please subscribe to Happy Agent Podcast. That will also be in the show notes as well. You've got a lot going on, which is so exciting.
Things, yes.
So let's get started. So tell me your story. So how did you get into real estate?
It was a happy circumstance. I was a senior in college at University of Maryland in 2004, and I was just looking to make money. I wanted to make 6 figures, and I had 2 job opportunities. So I could go into new construction sales with Pulte Homes, or I could sell drugs, legal ones, pharmaceuticals with Eli Lilly. And I opted to sell homes in the Metro DC area for Pulte Homes. So at the ripe age of 21, I was selling multi-million-dollar McMansions. And really, I look back and I had no business doing so.
It's amazing. Like, people were giving you their, life savings in some cases, or not giving it to you, but trusting you.
No, it's so wild. Yes.
It is. And because I think, like, would I give that sort of power to a 21, 22-year-old? I don't know, probably not. I mean, I appreciate the agents that can do it, and I think it's great because it means you sort of trial by fire. Like, if you can do it at that age, you can do it at any age, right?
Oh, for sure. And it was such a great training ground for me because the company gave me really boot camp in real estate, mortgage, construction, sales. We were lean, mean selling machines. So when the market crashed in 2007, 2008, I transitioned over into general brokerage. In the Washington, D.C. market, first-time buyers finally had affordability coming back. So that was my niche. And I was able to sell $6 million my first year as an agent and basically just rode that wave. And I bounced around from a big brokerage to a mid-size to a boutique. And in 2011, I decided to open City Chic Real Estate.
Wow. Now, what was the reason for opening your own firm? I guess you had tried others and just couldn't find the right match.
Yeah, really what it was they were all so archaic and traditional. And I personally have a background in marketing and tech. So I started designing websites when I was 14. I got my bachelor's in marketing. And so for me, I really couldn't find the right fit of a brokerage that was able to support a millennial agent like me. And so I wanted to create a brokerage that you actually got something for your split. So they actually helped you with marketing and helped you be cutting edge in terms of technology. And they also just helped you run your business. And so that essentially was my mission in 2011, was create a brokerage that was just hyper supportive of their agents. so they could have a life. And that is my mission even today, is that I want my agents to be top producers, but I don't want to take over their life.
Yeah, and that's a difficult balancing act. I think, in particular, women in particular, this is, there's more women realtors than there are men,
Yes,
of course, and women have a tremendous number of responsibilities in more sort of traditional, thoughts and norms, and they have to do a lot, and they're expected to do a lot, and it isn't easy to do any of it. And I think us men get off a little easier than than the women. But there's just a lot to juggle. There's family, there's children, there's your job, and there's also, of course, real estate happening all over the board. It doesn't just happen from 9 to 5, of course. So it is really tough to juggle, and that's one of the biggest challenges I think any agent experiences when they get into the business. Sort of maybe not understanding that, and how to set those boundaries, and also how to succeed and do it.
exactly.
So, yeah, let's talk about how to create since balance is impossible, a more close to balanced life, because we could all use that. I think there's always, rough spots in anyone's business that could be smoothed over, and it's usually about, sort of tweaking little things here and there. So you do it through reverse engineering. So tell
Yes.
us about what reverse engineering is, and why, and how we can do it.
So, traditional business planning or traditional real estate advice tends to start with your business first. And so, we kind of flip that on its head and we start with your life first. So, we look at what kind of life do you want to have and what really makes you happy? What do you want your schedule to look like? And then we back the business into that dream or that vision. So I have a 3-step process that I like to run clients through when we start. We have the exercise called Start with Joy, and that's the free workbook that you guys can download. But the first step is all about doing your joy audit. And your joy audit goes through your life and your business. So we're going to take a look at all of the admin tasks you do, all of your lead generation and marketing tasks that you do, all of the clients you have worked with in the past 2 to 3 years. And then we are going to rank all of them on enjoyment, not profit, not anything else, but it's how much did you enjoy it? So, do you love the paperwork? Do you love social media? What do you love? And so, from a 1 to 10, you are going to rank all of those different things. So, I think post it notes are a really good way to do this. And we're going to take a look at anything that is a 7 to 10. So anything that ranges in your 7 to 10 zone, that's your zone of enjoyment. And that's usually where you're going to want to spend the most of your time because it's where you enjoy the business. And that's how you avoid burnout. Anything in the 1 to 6 range, you're going to see if you can delegate it or eliminate it or make it more enjoyable. And so that's basically your joy audit for your business. Now, in your life, I think we forget oftentimes what we like doing. So we're going to go through and take a look at what people do you love to spend time with, because I'm sure there are relationships that need some nurturing and that have slipped through the cracks because it definitely happens to all real estate agents. How about activities or hobbies or things you actually enjoy doing? And so we're going to get that list together of the things you enjoy. And then you are going to design your ideal week. And we start with your personal things that you are non negotiable and that you enjoy. So maybe I know for me, my son's baseball games are number one on that list. Um, Also, I am a daily meditator. That is absolutely on my schedule and I do not miss it like for anything. So those things that really fill your cup and bring you happiness and bring you joy, you're making those non-negotiable. So going back to that reverse engineering, we're starting with joy first because that is the thing that oftentimes gets kicked to the curb the first.
Yeah, so this would be sort of the opposite approach, which is what we normally do, which is what we start with our to dos. Really, even when we're
Exactly.
designing even our business plan, we oftentimes start with our what do we have to do right now or in the next week or next month, and it really can get in the way because what's seemingly urgent and important in the moment isn't necessarily what's urgent and important long term. And so I love this idea of starting at the end and realizing, hey, these are the things that are most. It reminds me of that saying, um, achieving to be happy versus happily achieving, right? So this
Yes.
idea that, if once we get to X number of sales, then I'll be happy. Then I'll take time for myself. Then I will, once I do X, Y, and Z, then I'll, and I hit whatever goals I'm hitting. By the way, I have never found that to be a good way to find happiness. I found that in most cases, I'm curious to get your thoughts. When you do achieve those goals, well, the things we think are going to lead us to the happiness, oftentimes brings massive depression and massive sadness. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of like this funny joke that doesn't really get talked about much. We all think about, when once I'm at that very perfect weight, or I have the certain amount of money in the bank, like that's when the happiness kicks in. And it hasn't really worked that way for me because I guess it's just not how we're wired up. But I like this idea of starting at the things, the habits that make us happy, because those are always guaranteed wins, right? So it's that journey versus the destination. So I love that you're starting with the things like going to your son's baseball game, meditating. Those are things that are guaranteed wins. They fill your cup, and those are going to help you happily achieve. So I know I was a little bit all over the place there, but just kind of giving some thoughts around, we should really move, I think, more into direction than goals. Like I want to head a certain direction, and I'm going to do all the things that I need to do to get there, and hopefully do them in a way that's not going to drive me crazy. And there's probably no real destination.
Yeah, that is a perfect segue into step number 2, which is once we do our joy audit, we go into visioning. So
Yeah.
we're going to craft your 5 to 10 year vision, depending on where you're at in your life and your career. So my 5 year vision back when I had my first child in 2025 was that I wanted to move from Washington, D.C. to my hometown in New Hampshire. And that was a 5 year plan that I just knew in my heart it was what I wanted. And I know we all have those dreams and we don't listen to them. And this one, back in 2015, this was a crazy, crazy goal because how can you run a real estate brokerage remotely from New Hampshire? No one believed that I could. But I just knew it was so important to me that I was going to make it happen. And lo and behold, 3.5 years later, I did, which is incredible. So right now in this phase of life, I want to be work optional by 50 years old. And so I'm putting in it's a different goal, but I now have something else I'm working towards, which is meaningful for me. And I think that so often we get in the industry trap of, I need to be number one on this list. I need 200 million in production, or I need 3 million in GCI. That those numbers are great if there's a big why behind them, but if there's not a why behind them, they're completely meaningless. And I know people who make $80,000 a year, and they are so incredibly happy because that income plays into a bigger why for them. And I don't think more money would necessarily make them happier. And I think that we really need to shift the focus, but our industry makes it so hard because we reward the wrong things. I really do. I think brokerages succeed when you make more money. And I think that they have an incentive to really work agents to death.
Sure.
And I just think that as real estate agents, you need to realize that that's happening. And social media plays into it. Everything plays into that bigger is better mentality. But when is it just enough for you to be happy? When is it just enough where you can have the life that you want?
Yeah, I think that's really important. And for those of us that have earned more money than we thought we could in the past, and we see certainly more money when you don't have enough to do certain things that you want or need to do. Certainly it can bring happiness, of course, because it just brings peace of mind, maybe less anxiety, less fear, less stress. And to me, that can result in happiness. But it's interesting when we look at the actual studies around happiness. I don't know what the most current data shows, but it's something like once you get over $100,000
Yeah, I think it's
a year.
120,000. Yeah, I
Yes.
think, yeah.
Once you get over 120,000 and up to sort of an infinite amount of money you could be making, your happiness level doesn't change all that much. It doesn't go down, but it doesn't necessarily rise to what you think it might. But that sort of rise from making almost nothing up to 120,000 is significant. And I guess that's probably because at that level, the mass majority of individual people, again, I'm not saying families, but maybe individual people can kind of pay their bills at that point. They can pay their bills. They're not super stressed. So yes, we want of course again, I want to make as much money as possible too. So I am not saying do not go for more money, because you could do a lot of wonderful things with money, including. But this goes back to Lindsay's point: knowing your why. Like, even if you just want to give it away, right? You can do that. You can do good with it, or you can do good for your family or for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I there are agents that make millions of dollars, and they're happy, but they've figured out how to create a business that doesn't take over their life, and they also have a meaningful purpose to what they're doing. And I just think that it takes a little while for you to figure that out in this industry. Like, I had to reach a point of burnout for me to realize that I had to stop chasing more and more and more, and I had to start chasing what was important to me. And so I think that that's a really important reframe, is what's important to you. Because if you're chasing the wrong stuff, you're just going to be miserable.
How do you recommend somebody stays in touch with their why? Because it's so easy to put that behind in the back of our mind. It's so easy to just forget, from time to time when we're hit with something immediate that seems urgent and important, or we're, following the news, which is,
Hmm.
largely, you know, created in a way to inflame, our senses. So it's easy to knock us off our game, right? It's certainly for me. So how would you recommend that should stay? What should I do to be able to keep my whys, in my purview?
That's such a good question. And that takes me to the third step in starting with joy, which is you need to have three foundational pieces for your personal vision and for your professional vision that you're working towards. So they're almost like micro goals of your broader goal, your 5 to 10 year vision. And revisiting that, I think that that can be really motivating. So, for example, if I want to buy two multifamily investment properties, I know that I need $400,000 for a down payment to make that
Mm-hmm.
happen. I am able to then track where I'm at in that process. And that can be pretty motivating. So instead of it just being 400,000 in a vacuum, it's okay. That 400,000 is going to get me to those two multifamilies, which are then going to provide me with 150,000 of passive income, which is getting me closer to that goal of being work optional by 50 years old.
And
So
and also going
yeah,
backwards from the 400,000, you can kind of just do the math, right? You could easily see this is my average, commission per deal. This
yes,
is, and you can kind of work back, and then it's okay. Well, how many appointments do you need to get a client, and how many people do you need to reach out to, and so you can chunk it down so granularly that every day I have to focus on these 3, 4 habits, and there's a pretty predictable path there.
exactly. Yeah, it makes it motivating. So instead of just I need to make 10 appointments
400,000,
this
yeah,
week, yeah,
yeah.
it's like now I need 10 appointments this week, or I need to
Hmm.
have 50 conversations this week to make this happen. So it really is more motivating. But I also think that helps you stay on track. So it's not just, this doesn't live in a vacuum. You don't do it once like most business plans. It's you really have that vision, and it really needs to mean something to you. And then you need to hold yourself accountable, whether that's yourself or a friend or a family member or a coach. But you need to have someone who's like, all right, you said you wanted to do this. These are the three micro steps or the three micro goals you're working towards. How are we doing hitting those?
Yeah, let's talk about accountability, because I personally think that this is one of the biggest opportunities for agents to really consider implementing. We all kind of know what we should be doing. I mean, if we've been in the business long enough, we know, we should know specifically what we're doing. But even if you don't have it written down, you sort of know you should be reaching out to clients, you should be deepening relationships, meeting new people, putting them in your database, like setting up CMAs. Like there's things we know to do, and having accountability for me is the only thing that works for me. I would love to say that I am so disciplined that I hold myself accountable for every part of my life and I just get things done. Boy, I don't. And it's funny. This is funny. You'll get a kick out of this. I did a Gallup does this. They call it a strength finder, and they
Hmm.
list 34 strengths. It's amazing. I encourage everybody to do this. It's like costs like $30 or $40, and it will tell you exactly what you're best at and what you're weakest at. And they will tell you, don't even try your weakest stuff, because it's not going to happen. my 33rd out of 34th skill. So like the second from my second least, accomplished skill was discipline. And people tell me they think I'm so disciplined. The reality is I just have a lot of accountability. I don't have discipline. I wish I did. I wish I didn't need people. I have somebody waking me up every morning at 5 or at 6 a.m. And then I wake myself up at 5:55, so she doesn't actually have to make the phone call because that like gets me to do it. Because I don't really want her to have to call me. I'm 48 years old. I feel like a little embarrassed about that. So I set my alarm at 5:55, and that will get me up because I'm like I don't want her to have to call me. So that's accountability, and it sounds silly maybe to others, or maybe it sounds smart to others. I'm not sure, but it gets it done. And so I think let's talk about accountability. How do you recommend people set up accountability?
I think there are so many ways, but the first is you just have to know yourself and you know yourself. And I love this phone call. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
want the shame of having somebody wake me up at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to
Yeah.
wake myself
It's a
up.
little
But
embarrassing. Yeah.
no, it's not embarrassing. I think it's
No, no, no,
great.
no.
Like I
I'm
love
sort of
this.
tongue in cheek about it, but my point is the reason why it works for me, and also I think this is important to understand, it's not because actually paying somebody to do it. It's because in my mind, some have to do that for me. So because of that, because I'm wired earlier, so that she doesn't have to pick up the phone and actually make that do that. So again, it's just how I'm wired. So you should know how accountability helps or doesn't help you, and
Right. So I think accountability can be systems, it can be technology, it can be people. And I think it's anything that you want to stick to in terms of your goals, you need to figure out an accountability system for those. And so I know for me, my employees act like my accountability a lot of the time because they are like, I need this from you, Lindsay. Like, you need to make this happen. And so anything that makes you do something that you don't want to do, that's accountability. And so it can be your phone, it can be a person, it could be a CRM, it could literally be body doubling on a Zoom with somebody, but just making it happen is what accountability is all about.
I think it's really the missing piece that a lot of us, if we think about being a coach, right? And this goes into coaching, accountability partners are think of professional athletes. They all have a coach. They all have people help them. They don't. At least I've never met a professional athlete that does it all themselves. They all have a team of helping them. So again, if they need accountability partners, we probably need them too.
Exactly. There's no shame in that game. Like to get to a certain
Totally.
level, you have to have help. And I think that that's another hard piece for real estate agents to understand is like you don't have to do it all by yourself. And most top producing agents don't. They have a support team that they've built around them, and accountability is a piece of that.
So you've sort of understood, figured out what brings us the most joy, the habits we need to cultivate, and we have why we have these actually start then where are we at in the process?
You're breaking up. Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. There. Am I up?
Hold on, are you there?
Okay. Break. Am I still up?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We will fix that. Can you hear me okay now?
It's a little bit better. Hello?
A little better.
Okay.
Second. Second. Gosh, depends with our. That is very unusual. Uh, okay. Am I coming through any better? Or is it still?
Yes, that's much better. Nope, that's better.
Good. Sorry. Let's go back. So now we're in the process.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, did you just lose me again?
Yes.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
technology.
Crazy. Yeah,
It's
isn't
the
it fun
best.
now?
Mm-mm.
Let's see. Should be good.
Okay. Yes,
What I can do is I can switch my
I think so. Yeah, I think I got you.
or do, okay. Sorry, we'll fix that. Yeah, a little internet glitch there. We are Lindsay. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you
No,
good.
you
I hear
can't. All
you.
right.
Now, let's hope it sticks.
Okay, let's try it. All right. So let us know sort of where we're at now in the process.
Okay, so we had Follow the Joy, which was your joy audit. So we're going through ranking everything we're doing from 1 to 10, and 7 or more, that's your enjoyment zone. So that's where you're going to enjoy the business the most, which is just an important piece to know. The next is your casting your 5 to 10 year joy vision. So, what does your life and business look like in 5 to 10 years? What are your goals? Where do you want to get to? And then the last piece is your 3 foundational micro goals underneath your life and business joy vision. And then it's staying accountable or putting in pieces to your business that you need to make it happen. So maybe you need to hire an assistant, maybe you need to get a buyer's agent on your team. Maybe you need to get a new CRM. Maybe you need to really focus on your lead generation or marketing to get to that goal. So it's all about then that's your business plan. And so I find, again, so many agents do it backwards where they start with a number that they want to achieve, but they're not reverse engineering it by starting with joy, starting with their life goals first. And that's ultimately, I have seen so many agents in this business burn out, hate their life, just absolutely flame into the ground. And the ones that don't do that practice this. They really are so good at knowing why they're doing what they're doing and then optimizing their business for their lifestyle and for the time and energy that they do have to invest in their business. But their life doesn't get the leftovers. Like their life is always first, whether that's your friends, your family, yourself. But it's like that they always come first. And DJ, I'm not going to say it's easy. It literally is so hard. Like it is a muscle you have to flex by putting yourself first and your needs first. But the more you practice those boundaries, the more you really start to put yourself and your time first, it comes easier. And it's very uncomfortable at first. It's going to feel really weird to tell people that you're not available on a Sunday when you really want to be available on that Sunday because you know you're probably going to sell something. But maybe you have, again, a buyer's agent or a licensed assistant who can step in for you on that Sunday. So once you start setting those boundaries, you can then fill it in with the support that you need to make sure you hold those boundaries firm.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really solid point. Again, happyagent.co is where you can go to start this process. The Start with Joy workbook is available. It's free. It's right on her website. We also have a link to that in the show notes. But yeah, I think you're right. There's this idea of really just again being intentional. It sounds like what we're really talking about is intentionality and how do we actually structure our day? How do we structure our week instead of just letting things happen? Because again, the market's going to do what it does, and our
Right.
leads are kind of do what they do, and our people in our database are going to either use us or they won't. And yes, we can influence that, and we should be doing all of the behaviors. But if we certainly don't have control over a lot of what actually ends up happening other than our habits and our behaviors. So I love that, we're starting with what we think is going to make us the happiest and then getting all the way down to, okay, what are the daily tasks I need to do, and can I get some of these off my plate? And for those of us thinking, I can't afford that, right? I can't afford to hire an
Right.
assistant. I can't afford, I will tell you, I have an assistant and I can't afford an assistant, in the traditional sense. Yet I have a wonderful assistant. So there are ways to do this that are a lot less expensive than you might consider. There are people all over the world that are wanting to help you in your business, and they have time and they have different needs than you. And so they will tell you what they charge, and you can find people that are competitive and hopefully are within your budget.
Yes, exactly. And also, you don't necessarily have to pay them right away. So, with a buyer's agent or a licensed assistant or someone around in that realm, they could have a cut of your deal. So they're getting paid when you have a closing. And that's how I started scaling initially. Was I didn't pay anybody. I just had somebody who was licensed who wanted to learn the business and wanted to help me, and I was cutting them in on my deals. So, it doesn't have to cost you money right away. You can get creative, but usually you're hiring before you feel comfortable have at spending the money. But I will tell you, it helps you leverage so much more quickly. And also, I don't think I've ever regretted spending money on leverage.
Yeah, me neither. It's certainly, and also understanding like what's our hourly value. That's another
Hmm.
wonderful exercise to really think about, what did you make last year? What was your hourly wage, depending on how many hours you chose to work? And then also understanding, again, I know we're not necessarily starting with the outcome of just money, but figuring out what is my hourly wage? If I were to do the number of deals realistically, that would stretched, but realistically
Yes.
stretched, what would my hourly wage approximately be? And then from there, figuring out, well, what tasks am I doing that are really not sort of worth that time, because that time's
Hmm.
valuable. So, if it's better for me to go on Facebook and start messaging people and connecting with them, and on LinkedIn and liking their posts and calling people that are in my life and just checking in on them, if that's actually what generates business, then maybe the paperwork side of it could be offloaded to someone else who, because that isn't generating the income that I'm looking for. It's helping get a deal closed. And I also think you said something really important, which is I very rarely hear people say this. And I'm so glad you mentioned it, which is, I can't afford to hire an assistant. You're like, well, what if you just cut them in on your deals? You
Yeah.
said, hey, I've got these tasks that I'm not particularly strong at, or I just need to do other things. If you do these for me, I will give you a cut of, every deal that you work on. I think that is, it's as simple as that sounds. That is not how a lot of agents think. So, agents think in terms of teams, like if you're on a team, you get a certain cut. But, as far as getting some help for other tasks, this is a really, really solid idea. I love that.
It's also like the market's shifting and it's really wonky in a lot of places. So there are agents that need the income. And if you need the help, it's a win-win for both of them.
Yeah, I agree. I want to shift gears. I want to ask two questions, and I meant to do this at the very beginning, and I'm going to see if we can patch this into the very beginning, because I think this is always a fun way to start, and I just wasn't thinking, and I didn't get it done, but we'll do it now. So my
Okay.
two questions are, and you don't know they're coming, so this will be really fun. No pressure, of course. Just we expect perfect answers here, so good luck.
It's only
No, no, no,
perfect
no.
here.
They're very they're if you need a moment or two to think about it too, no big deal. I can talk, but what's the best piece of advice you ever heard as an agent?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this. Okay, so this came from my mentor and over 10 years ago, and he said, if it is a 7 out of 10, ship it. I suffer from perfectionism syndrome, and he was like, Lindsay, your 7 is like everybody else's 10. So if it is a 7 out of 10, just get it out into the world. Stop overthinking it, stop messing around with it, and just ship it. That was game changing advice for this perfectionist, because when I find myself overanalyzing or getting in the weeds on something, I ask, is it a 7 out of 10? And normally it is a 7 out of 10, and I just need to stop tinkering with it.
I have the same affliction with certain things, other things not, but certain things like my website for recruiting.
Yes,
I want it to be the very best that it exists, and I want, and of course it can never be fully finished, because there's always new things to add to it. Or so, yeah, I got you.
always.
Yeah, and my boss will say, okay, enough. Let's just get it up. It's better than 99% of the ones out there. It's not to your perfect standard, but it's pretty good. Yeah, anything that's a 7 and above, ship it. Let's get it out there. Let's get it done, and we can always refine it later. So I hope,
Amen. Yep.
absolutely agree with you. Now, here's another question: what's the worst piece of advice you ever received as an agent?
That there is one prescriptive way to generate business. And I have had some very bad coaches in my past 21 years. And I can't tell you how many of them were just like, make your calls. And I think that that works for a certain type of person and a certain type of clientele. But I think that there is not just one size fits all when it comes to marketing and lead generation. And I think that that was probably some really bad advice I got, because I got really discouraged early on in the business, because I didn't like any of the activities that coach was making me do. And later down the road, I realized or I learned that there's 4 types of lead generation personalities.
Yeah.
And it totally made sense that I didn't resonate with these coaches, because they were trying to put me in the prospector box. And I'm not a prospector. I'm a marketer and I'm a converter. And so it was very eye opening for me. But that was some of my worst advice, was that you need to do this, you need to do this. And it just, again, going back to building a business you love, you have to love the activities you're doing.
Yeah, let's teach our audience something as you being a millennial can attest to. And again, this isn't everybody. We're just going to
Right.
generalize. But let's say, do millennials like getting phone calls?
Are you joking? No. And actually, what I've realized, and this is kind of related but unrelated, is that I love getting voice notes.
Yeah.
And that is the new phone call to me. I will drop voice notes to my agents, I'll drop voice notes to clients, but voice notes are a personal way to touch base with somebody without doing the weird intrusiveness of a phone call. So whether it's in the Instagram DMs voice notes or in a text, it's I feel like millennials don't hate phone calls. We want to hear the voice to voice, but
Yeah.
it's like we want it to be asynchronous. We don't want to necessarily be on the phone with you.
Right. We want, right now, here's a question: voice notes or video notes?
I like either. I think like either is great. So if you like being on video, knock yourself like go for it. If you don't want to be on video, I think voice notes are just as personal.
I love that. Now, millennials are the going, they are the largest market right now to, potentially buy their first home. They're buying homes later. We know that as well. They're starting later than previous generations, to late 30s to now. It's like 38
Yes.
years old. So, how would you recommend somebody start to communicate with a millennial just to start the relationship and maybe the education process of why
hmm
this may make sense? How do you see that working?
I think it depends on how they come into your orbit. So we still get people who inquire through our website. And with those people, our agents will send a Calendly link for an initial consultation via Zoom. So they're picking time that works for them. And then we run through our buyer presentation, like teach them about buyer agency, how agents are compensated, all of that good stuff. And then basically schedule their tour and get them pre-approved and all of that. So if they're coming to us, we're usually scheduling the consultation right away. Um, Sometimes it's sphere referral. A lot of time it's referral, and that's a similar process. But a lot of times we're either doing it online via Zoom or we're going in person, casual coffee date kind of vibe.
Hmm.
Um, so I think the biggest thing with the millennial demographic is that they're looking for expertise, but they're also looking for authenticity. Like we can
Yeah.
smell a faker or somebody who's a phony or just in it for the commission a mile away. Like I can smell commission breath like so badly. And I know that millennials can feel that too. So we don't want someone who's just putting on a show. We want someone who really puts our interests first. Which I think is why so much of our business is referral because most of our clients are older millennials or I would say like the 35 to 45 demographic. Um, but they're just looking for someone who's really has their interests at heart and they're really looking for someone who genuinely wants to help them through this process.
And I think that lends itself to active listening. And for those of us that are, really looking to up our communication game, learn active listening. It's not difficult to learn. It's hard to practice. Well,
hmm
it's not hard to develop a great habit to it, but it'll be hard at first. But this is really important. If you want people to sort of feel that you're authentic, you have to authentically be interested in them. And that means
Yes.
you have to learn how to ask them about them, and that's a skill as well. And you can find YouTube videos. There's courses. You probably teach this as well in your coaching and your different products. There are so many ways to learn this, but learn how to get into somebody's sort of passion. Like, what are they interested in? Why is it important to them? Their what, their why. And if you do that, I think what you'll end up realizing is there's not much competition in that particular way. There's definitely better realtors and there's people who are more
Right.
successful. But when you really take time to get to know somebody and beyond the transaction and understanding why the transaction is important to them and what they're looking to do and what their vision, what their 5-year vision is, what do you want to do? How do you want this home to look in 5 years? And, doing those kind of things, we think all agents do that. Most agents don't. They just go, oh, you want to buy a
I
home? Cool. Tell me what you want and I'll go find it for you.
I have a great example of this literally a couple days ago. I had a woman who is downsizing into a condo and we were having a discussion and I said, you do realize that this building is a walk up and there's no elevator, right? Because I knew she was aging in place and it's like I listened to what she was looking for. She wants this to be her last home forever. And she's like, no, I had no idea it had no elevator. I went and I'm like, no, it has no elevator. So I don't think this is going to be the right fit for you. And She was so thrilled that I told her not to buy this house because it didn't fit her long-term goals, that she then referred me to two more people. So when you really listen to what it's like the undercurrent, she didn't say, I need an elevator. But in my mind, I knew if she's aging here, eventually she's probably not going to be able to walk upstairs. And so you really have to listen. It's such a good point, DJ. Like listen, listen, listen. It is not hard, but it is so incredibly valuable.
Yeah, it's way more important than what you say. It's just way more important. It just ultimately gives you all the information or most of the information that you need to connect with somebody. And
Hmm.
people want to feel connected to, especially not just millennials, of course, all generations. People want to feel important. They want to feel heard, respected, listened to. And that is, when we walk into a store, or at least this is my experience, we walk into like a clothing store and the salesperson comes immediately up, like, how does that feel? Does not feel good to me. And it's not because there's anything wrong with a salesperson at a clothing store. That's what they should be doing. But
Right.
they should be coming up to me and somehow talking to me. But we all know how it feels when they just are clearly looking to make that sale versus saying, hey, let's talk about your lifestyle. Like what kind of clothing do you think you're looking for? Because I can come, you just start browsing, I'm going to come up with some ideas for you. There's great people who do it. And again, restaurants do this too. I always ask, what's the best thing on the menu, when
Right.
I'm sitting down. And yeah, and then I'll say, hey, this is what we're thinking of ordering. Did we make any mistakes here? And they'll tell you, right? And so it's about I want expertise, like you were saying, and I want somebody who's going to listen to what I want. And so I think these are great suggestions. Let's talk about your podcast. So
Sure.
tell us about the Happy Agent podcast.
So the Happy Agent Co podcast is really focused on helping women in real estate build a business that they love. And you introed this podcast with women have different demands. And it is definitely well known that women typically carry most of the mental load when it comes to home life. And I know that men are working on it and we're trying to make things better. But I will also add with we're like the sandwich generation where we're taking care of our parents as well as taking care of kids. So that load is very, very, very big. So we talk about basically it's all of the things around being a woman in real estate. So it could be how to manage your time, how to manage your energy, how to implement more strategies that make your life more happy and meaningful, how to streamline your systems, how to attract clients in a way that's authentically you. So really just trying to make a business that not only makes you happy, but also energizes you and isn't detracting from all the other important things that you have to do in your life.
I love it. So Happy Agent Podcast, we have a link to that in the show notes. And also, let's talk about your website, happyagent.co. What can agents expect to do there and learn there?
Yeah, so we have some freebies. I also have some on-demand courses. The most recent one is custom chat GPT for real estate, which is such a game changer. If you have not built a custom GPT, it will blow your mind. You can also learn more about coaching. I also do a one-day intensive, which is basically a deep dive into your business and aligning it with joy and money, which is really fun. We have the podcast, and then obviously I just said the courses and everything. So
I
come
love it.
visit.
Happyagent.co is where you go. So not .com, drop the M,
Dot
and
co.
happyagent.co. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. You don't even have to type it in. So you just scroll down and hit that link button. And also, let's subscribe to our podcast. There's a link to that as well in our show notes. Let's learn how to be a happier agent. Lindsay, thank you on behalf of our audience for coming on and sharing some of your success secrets and what you're doing, coaching not just your team, but also agents all over the country. And if you are in the Washington, D.C. area and you're looking for a new brokerage or a brokerage that is actually going to support you and coach you, this is City Chic Real Estate is a great place to find that. And that's joincitychic.com. So I will have a link to that in the show notes. Just reach out to Lindsay. She's super easy to find, and let her know if you're in that area and you want to see what opportunities exist at her firm. And so on behalf of everyone, Lindsay, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. On behalf of Lindsay and myself, thank you, the audience. We appreciate you. We just ask that you help us do two quick things. One, let us know what you think of the show. Send us some feedback. You could do that by leaving us a review. So whatever podcast app you're listening to us on right now, let us know what you think of the show. We read all those comments. We appreciate that. It helps us get in front of more people as well. And please tell a friend. Think of one other agent that could benefit from this conversation. All agents could benefit. Honestly, this was a great episode. I've done over 600 of these. This is one of the best ones we've ever done.
Oh,
So
TJ,
please,
you're the best.
well, you did. It was you that did it. So I appreciate you. So thank you on behalf of the audience as well. So please tell a friend about this episode. Let's get people signed up with Lindsay's podcast, The Happy Agent Method, and let's get people over to the website happyagent.co. But also tell a friend so that we can keep getting in front of more people with this podcast. All right, I will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you so much, DJ. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody out there.